Hi, I would like to talk about a new feature in the Alma November 2015 release, resource sharing request recalls. So it is now possible for the lending institution in a borrowing request to recall the item after it was shipped to the borrower. And Alma can be configured to do this automatically when, for example, some request, such as a patron physical item request, is placed in the lending institution side, and in order to fulfill this request, the item needs to be recalled. So there are several configurations relating to this that you need to do. One of them is, for example, if the lending institution has two items, one that's shipped and one that's, let's say, on a regular local loan, which one of these two gets recalled? So you configure the priorities. Does the loan get recalled or does the resource sharing item get recalled? Other configurations relate to the borrowing workflow and to the lending terms of use for resource sharing. So let's take a look at the configurations you need to make in Alma, and then we'll look at a quick scenario of a recall of a resource sharing request. So the first configuration we'll look at is on the borrowing workflow. We need to add the recall by partner step. So Alma menu, fulfillment configuration menu, resource sharing workflow profiles. We need to make sure that the borrowing workflow profile supports recalled by partner. If this is not here, then you can add it from Actions Edit, and select this step here and add it. In our case, it's already added, so I'll cancel. The next configuration relates to what do we prefer to recall, a loan or a resource sharing item. So that is done under the customer parameters mapping table. So Alma menu, all mapping tables, and look for the customer parameters mapping table. And here under Actions Edit, we search for the parameter RS prefer recall method, resource sharing preferred recall method. And here we see that it is set to true. This means that if you're the lending institution and you're recalling an item, then you'll prefer to recall one that is an interlibrary loan rather than a local loan. If this parameter is false, then the local loan will be recalled first. Save. And finally, the last configuration we need to make to enable the feature is the lending terms of use. So under Alma menu, fulfillment configuration menu, make sure you're configuring the resource sharing library. And to configure the terms of use, go to Terms of Use and Policies. Make sure you're filtering by lending resource sharing. And edit the applicable terms of use. In my case, it's the default terms of use. Actions Edit. And here we configure the resource sharing recall period. That is, how much time does the borrowing side have left in order to return the recalled item? So here I've had it set to 5 days. We can define a different recall period. You can choose either no recall period or configure your own. So then you choose the blank line and add policy. So this can be, let's say, 3-day recall period. Value type other. And here you write the value in days. Save. And once again, we've added a new recall period and we can select that one. So let's leave this at 5 days. Next. Here you confirm the terms of use and save. So finally, let's look at an example of how this works. So this feature works for both ISO ILL and email-based loans. And in my example, I'll show it on an ISO setup, and in an email situation, it's the same scenario. Only the messages are sent by email. So let's take a look at our lending requests, Alma menu lending requests. And one of our lending requests we can see has already been shipped physically. So the borrowing institution already has it. And it's for a title called the Indian Archives. And let's see what happens if we place a request for this title. And after the configurations we've made, we'll expect Alma to recall this resource sharing request so that the local request placed can be fulfilled. So let's search for the title. And we can see it here, the Indian Archives. And there's a physical version at the resource sharing library. Let's place a request. For example, a patron physical item request. And we'll select a patron. We'll take Jane Brown, select, and submit. Pick up at resource sharing library, submit. The request was successfully submitted. Now let's go back to our lending request and see what happened. Alma menu lending requests. And you can now see that the Indian Archives has been recalled. So this means an ISO message was automatically sent to the borrowing side that the item was recalled. And let's see what this looks like on the borrowing side. Let's go into the Alma of the borrowing institution. Here we are on the borrowing side. We'll go to Alma menu, borrowing requests. And here's our request for the Indian Archives. And we can see here on the borrowing side that request status is recalled by partner. And you can see the due date of the recall, as was defined in the terms of use on the lender side. And the borrowing side now knows to return the item. So that was resource sharing request recalls. We saw how to configure it, and then we saw a quick demonstration of what it looks like on the lending and borrowing side. Thank you for joining.